Good morning, Point Fortin on the main road. Yes, my goodness. Let's head across now from Point Fortin, from Trinidad. We take that trip to Egypt, where Ryan Brew is still there giving us extensive coverage of the COP27 conference. And he brings us this report where Minister of Planning and Development, Penelope Beckles-Robinson, gave an address.
Well, good morning, Jason. It is the start of a crucial second week at the COP27 conference where negotiations are already underway and you can say are pretty much continuing. I want to begin this morning by telling you of a conversation I had with a very senior person who is involved in these negotiations at the COP27 conference, telling me this morning that developed nations are already pushing back on small island states and, Pacific nations and also maybe even AOSIS in these negotiations as we move towards loss and damage funding. Now, this sort of cements what we have already been hearing. Murmurs, whispers, rumors of how these negotiations have been going and are expected to go throughout this week. And nothing more suggests that these rumors are true than what John Kerry had to say at a press conference on Saturday. I want to read that quote to you. John Kerry had this to say, and I'm quoting here: "It is a well-known fact that the United States and many other countries will not establish some sort of legal structure that is tied to compensation or liability. That is just not happening," John Kerry had to say on Saturday. I end by saying that is just not happening. Interestingly, our head of delegation in Trinidad and Tobago, Minister of Planning and Development, Penelope Beckles, was speaking at an aligning climate finance towards the Caribbean countries' resilient climate needs this morning at the CARICOM Pavilion. I want to play a little bit of an excerpt of what she had to say, and I'll give you my thoughts on it.
The first important action is creating the correct enabling environment to attract climate-friendly investment, as I said, particularly from the private sector. And this includes effecting all relevant legislative, policy, administrative, and institutional arrangements to establish a favorable enabling environment and also dismantling the barriers that inhibit such an environment. Such barriers can include issues related to green procurement, transparency arrangements, removal of perverse subsidies that skew the market, and ease of doing business.
That was Minister Penelope Beckles, Minister of Planning and Development in Trinidad and Tobago, addressing the CARICOM Pavilion this morning at a panel discussion on aligning climate financing towards the needs of Caribbean resilience when it comes to climate change. But coming this morning, Jason, to the conference after a daybreak yesterday for the entire conference, it sort of cemented what we've been hearing all through last week, all through to the end of last week, that larger developing nations are not interested in negotiating loss and damage funding, at least not at this COP27 conference. Whether that will change over the next few days, and things change around here very quickly, is left to be seen. But this one looks pretty difficult to see whether we will actually have any movement over the next 5 to 6 days.
Interesting developments there indeed. I want to thank you, Ryan, as always, for your extensive and, I would say, up-to-the-minute, really behind the scenes, giving us that feel as to what's happening on the ground there for this COP27 in Egypt. Thank you so much, Ryan. Let's take that pause and we come back around with much more as we work our way to the 8 o'clock hour on this Monday. Welcome and stick around.